7 episodes, 7 humans, 7 completely different worlds. And somehow, every single one of them left me thinking the exact same thing I needed to hear that. Today, I'm sitting alone, no guest, just me, you, and everything I have been carrying since I hit record on that very first episode. This is episode 8 of the Conversations with Florid, and today I owe you the conversation I should have had on day 1. Let me take you back to the beginning. I wasn't trying to build a media company, I wasn't chasing subscribers on YouTube, I wasn't even sure anyone was going to watch. Honestly, I wasn't even sure I was going to show up on camera. That's something I have never really said it out loud, but before I want to be real with you today. There was a version of this show where I stayed behind the scenes, where I let the fear of what people would think keep me small. What will they say? What if I am not good enough? What if nobody cares? And then I made a decision, not a perfectly planned one, not after months of preparation. I just jumped in. I stopped overthinking it. But this time I didn't jump alone. And before I get into the guest, before I get into the lessons, I need to talk about the person who made every single one of these episodes possible. My future wife. She's been there from day one, not just emotionally, not just as someone who believed in me when I didn't fully believe in myself, but literally there. Episode after episode, she was the one making sure the cameras were rolling, the focus was sharp, the batteries were charged enough, the lighting was right. While I was in the conversation, fully locked in with the guest, she was behind the scenes making sure you got to say it properly. And this show exists because of her. I want to say that clearly and publicly. She stood by me, she believed in me, and she showed up every single time. And then there is Raji RV. She was not just my first guest, she was the person who gave me the final push to actually start. We were on a virtual call earlier this year, and this was before any of this existed. And I told her I would had this idea for a long time now, a podcast, a real conversation, the kind that actually helps people figure things out. And I told her I'd been sitting on it for a while now. She didn't give me a strategy, as most people would, that you would do this, you would do this, this is how you get started, and yeah, jump in. But she didn't ask me about equipment or format or audience size. She just said, you start and I'll be your first guest. And that was it. That's all it took. Sometimes the most important thing someone can do for you isn't giving you an advice, it's just believing you loudly enough that you stop making excuses. So I started, and Raji showed up, and now 7 episodes later, I'm sitting here right in front of you talking to you, which is still genuinely surprised me some days. I'm someone who has been navigating careers, education, health, relationships, finances, my own entrepreneurship journey, and sometime all at once. And every time I hit a wall, every single time. Every time I had a question, I couldn't Google my way out of it. And I just wished I could just sit down with someone who had been through it, who have already navigated those paths before me. Someone real person. someone who would tell me the truth. And that's exactly what this show is. I don't interview celebrities for the clout. I find the people in this city, in this country, who are quietly doing remarkable things, the things that I see as top 1%. And I ask them everything I actually want to know. Let me walk you through what each guest cracked open for me. The very first episode with Raji was about tech sales, a career path most people walk right past without ever knowing it exists. An untapped career, and that little says it all. So much of the value in this in life is untapped. We just never had someone sit us down and explain it. That episode set the tone for everything that followed right from there. Episode 2 with Kulbaba. He has spent over 2 decades helping thousands of people rewrite their professional stories. He introduced me to something he calls the core word strategy. The idea that before you fix your resume, before you work on your LinkedIn, you need to find one single word that defines who you are. He told me people may not remember everything you said in the half-hour pitch, but they will remember how you made them feel. That line rewired me, and in a world obsessed with credentials, job titles, he's saying the most powerful thing you can do is know yourself and make other people feel seen. He also destroyed my assumptions about the hidden job market and gave me the most counterintuitive networking advice. Stop living in your own profile, but live in those comment section of everyone else. And this is something really powerful, rather than just posting or rather than just liking the post of your boss just to make yourself seen within the organization. Start commenting over those posts. Something valuable, something that the other person will feel valuable, that you genuinely care about this LinkedIn post, and you share the honest advice, the advice that people needed to hear, not want to hear. Then I recorded another episode, episode 3 with Rashidi Kabamba. He walked away from a complex robotics project, something he had built from scratch, something he was passionate about, and pivoted into human performance, HR, and music. Not because he failed, but because he was honest enough to see that the traction wasn't there yet, and flexible enough to redirect without abandoning the vision. His rule: be stubborn with your vision, but flexible with the details. And he introduced to me the 1% rule, getting 1% better every single day, not 100%, not overnight, just 1%. And he said, growth doesn't always look like a raise or a promotion. Sometimes growth looks like stillness, like rest, like giving yourself permission to pause before you pivot. In a world that glorifies the grind, that was quietly the most radical thing I heard all season. Episode 4 with Reed Lucy. Reed moved to London from all the way British Columbia, the west coast of Canada, during a global lockdown with no clients, no network, and no guarantee anything would even work. And that was coming back to London after more than a decade. He built a thriving headshot photography business from scratch in a city he almost barely knew. During a time when nobody was leaving their house, and what he taught me is this: premium is not about price, it's about experience. He said if he hits a lottery tomorrow, he would still be doing hit shots. No pressure, no pivot, just the work he loves. That hit me differently because most of us haven't even asked ourselves that question yet. If money were not the thing, what would you still do? He also showed me that AI is not the threat. Below average work is the threat. When you bring genuine skill, genuine warmth, and genuine results to what you do, no algorithm is replacing you. James was my fifth guest on the podcast, the EQ rockstar, and he said something I keep coming back to majority of the time. IQ gets you into the room. Where you stand and how long you stay will be your EQ. He has spent his career teaching hard-nosed business leaders and analytical thinkers how to master emotional intelligence. And his argument is very simple. In a world where AI is automating technical tasks, the most valuable thing you can develop is your ability to make people feel seen, heard, and respected. He also said the most amazing people in this world are the ones who see the beauty in others. And the question is, are you telling them? I think about that every single day, every week, and I really do. And I try to say thank you to those people who came to my life, who helped me down the line, and pushing me every single day to keep doing more of this. Adam McNeil, my episode number 6. He has spent over 20 years watching founders build, struggle, pivot, and sometimes even crash. He gave me the most honest take on entrepreneurship I have ever came across in a long time. His line, the highlight reel never shows the years and months when nobody cared. He talked about how 90% of startups fail and majority of them even had funding. So what about the silent killer? It's not about the bad idea or a bad strategy or not even an empty bank account. It's a bad leadership, and majority of them have a clarity problem. Founder syndrome, ego replacing strategy, hiring friends instead of qualified people. And then he said something that I think every person in this audience needed to hear. Whether you are an entrepreneur or an employee, you don't have to have the answer. You already hired people who have the answers. You just have to listen. And that episode reminded me that building something is not about being the smartest person in the room. It's about being curious enough to keep asking better questions. And the last episode so far I have shot and released is episode number 7 with Megan Fornival. Megan is a registered midwife, a medtech CEO, a head of London Health Sciences Center, a professor at 2 universities, and one of the only people in Ontario leading the JEPS hub in her own field. She's also a mother, and she built a patent medical device with no business degree and no roadmap. She said something I haven't stopped thinking about. The people closest to the problem are usually the ones best equipped to solve it. Megan's startup, Rivera Care, came directly from 15 years of standing in a delivery room, watching what was broken, and refusing to accept that it had to stay that way. Her product, a redesigned birth gown, 23 different designers. It takes a lot of efforts in order to find the right person who can even design a product, and came from a place so deep in lived experience that no boardroom could have conceived it. She also talked about what it means to be a woman in leadership. about playing small, about giving too much, about the moment you finally stop worrying about whether you fit in this room and just speak. That part of the conversation was for every woman watching this who's been told their ideas are too much. I started this podcast because I was figuring things out, and what I didn't expect is that the podcast would become the thing that helps me figure things out faster. Every guest pushed me to look at one of the five pathways I care the most about: career, education, health, relationship, finance, and entrepreneurship. And every single conversation gave me a new lens, not an answer, but a better question. Here is what 7 conversations have taught me about. From Raji, from that very first episode, I learned that there are entire careers, entire industries, entire worlds of possibility sitting right in front of us that we walk past every single day because nobody told us to look. From Chris, I learned that who you are is more powerful than what you have done. From Rashidi, I learned that rest is not the enemy of progress. From Reed, I learned that betting on yourself is the safest bet you will ever make. And if you actually know what you are betting on, bang on. From James, I learned that the skills of making people feel good is not soft. It is the most competitive advantage of our era, especially in this AI world. I learned from Adam that clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from talking to more people, talking to more relevant, qualified people. And from Megan, I learned that vulnerability and ambition can live in the same body. And when they do, something remarkable gets built. So, why am I not stopping? Well, it's very simple. There are 4 reasons for that. The first one is the knowledge is too valuable to keep locked up in one conversation or in last 7 conversations. Every guest I have had carries insights that took them years, sometimes decades to earn. And when we record, we compress that into an hour. That's an insane return of your time as a viewer. And I'm not stopping because I think more people deserve access to that. Second, I am growing personally, genuinely. Every episode makes me a better listener, a better questioner, a better thinker. And I started this show to learn, and it's working. I can feel it in how I show up in networking rooms, in my classrooms, in conversations. This podcast is building me, and I think that's exactly how it should work. The third one are the connections I'm making are irreplaceable. I mean, imagine if I didn't have this podcast, I would never been able to sit with those 7 different people, having those real conversations, asking the questions that I care about, and having them answered with deeper insights or with depth within the answers wouldn't be possible without that. And there is no shortcut to sitting across from someone who has done the thing you want to do and asking them how they actually did it. The relationship I have built through this show with guests, with viewers, with the community, those are not transactional. Never. They are genuinely changing the direction of my life, and I love it every single day. The fourth one is I am doing it for you. 90% of you watching this right now are not subscribed. I know that number because I can see that in the YouTube studio, the analytical sections. And I'm not saying that to guilt you. I'm saying it because I genuinely believe there is something in this show for you. And I want to make sure you don't miss what comes next. We have an incredible lineup ahead for this podcast. People who are going to challenge you, stretch you, and hand you the tools you will use for the rest of your life. Hit that subscribe button right now. It's the smallest possible action with a disproportionate return. And if Rashidi would say, the 1% rule in action. One more thing, this show runs on people, on the right guest, on the humans who have done the work and are willing to sit down and share it honestly. And I believe that you know someone like that. Maybe it's your mentor, your boss, a founder you follow, a clinician who have changed your life, a professor who sees the world differently outside the books, someone who has been through something hard and carries out something worth saying. If that person exists in your world, send them my way. There's a guest submission form in the description below. Fill it out. Tell me who they are, why you think their story belongs on this show. Every great episode started with someone saying you should talk to this person. Be that person. 7 episodes, 7 lives, thousands of minutes of real conversation, and I'm just getting started. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing these episodes with the people in your life who needed to hear them. This is the conversation with Florid. Keep figuring it out, and I'll see you in the next one.